to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you.
Good evening, welcome along to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. The start of another week, and it is the Fans Forum, and I'm joined by George, Barry, and Vince and Alan. Ian is having a few intermittent internet problems, I think, so he might be in and out. Let's see. And Darren is having a couple of weeks off. He's got a funeral to organise, sadly, and our thoughts are with him. And Kevin is unavailable tonight, but still a good panel and plenty of us to talk. And here is Ian. Are you with us, Ian? Can you hear us?
Now, mate. Yeah, I don't know what's
going on. So Ian is here as well. Good stuff. All right, George, we'll start with you, mate. I know you've had a few internet issues yourself, but all fixed now, which is good to have you back. Newcastle had a few issues at the weekend as well, George. George has paused.
Oh, just a few. Yeah, the wheels come off big Saturday. Sorry,
George, you've gone again.
Came off big style on Saturday.
Can you hear us, George?
Well, I can hear everybody else. Yes,
Go
yes,
now,
I can.
Your picture's frozen. You're slightly behind, George. Do you want to go out and come back in, George, and we'll bring you back in? Probably the best thing to do, George, because you're a little bit behind. It was okay before we started, but sadly, George is bitten the dust. So, Barry, Newcastle didn't turn up at the weekend. What went wrong, do you think?
I don't know. I mean, it's the worst game, certainly in Eddie Howe's management of the club. Even the cup final, I don't think they were as bad as they were on Saturday. It was as if they didn't turn up, Steve. The Villa, I think, knew exactly where to hit them, knew exactly where to have a go at which players to have a go at. And they caught us a couple of times. Watkins basically ran amok, which I didn't think he would do against our two centre-halves, and he did. Really disappointed. But I suppose the plus point is it shows how far we've come when you compare that performance to the Man United game. And you think the Man United game is more the way we played recently. Hopefully the Villa match was just a one-off. I thought we really struggled, even when Howe changed it and brought the different players on. It didn't seem to have any effect at all. Bless him. I think Pope was man of the match by a mile. If it wasn't for Pope, it could have been a lot worse than it was. I think he saved at least a couple of cracking chances for Villa. So just disappointed all round. I think, again, Bruno didn't look match fit for me, which is a worry. Because you then think, will Tottenham do exactly the same thing? Will they target Bruno and try and take him out the game again? I don't know. Just very disappointing. But I suppose, like anybody else, you just pick yourselves up and you carry on, don't you?
Yeah, you've got to. Alan, your assessment?
Exactly the same as Barry, really. I think we all on the panel say the same thing. You couldn't give more than 2 or 3 marks for every player. I suppose you always want on a winning run. You always wanted to keep going. You know, we've won 5 in a row. Villa won 4 in a row, and you were hoping that with confidence. I thought we'd win, to be honest. So I'm not going to but give Villa credit for what they did, the tactics, and Unai Emery. It shows you the owners were right. To get him first choice. And Eddie Howe will have to learn from that. As much as the players played badly, the tactics were outdone by tactics as well. You've got to hold your hands up and say, well and truly stuffed. But people have got to realise as well, Eddie Howe's learning as well. This is the run in now, guys. We've got 8 games to go, 5 at home, 3 away. If you'd said that to me at the start of the season, we'd be lying 4th position with a chance to Champions League, then I would have taken it. Like Barry says, we've just got to get over it. It was a bad result, disappointing. We could all chastise the players, but please don't go down the Tottenham route, because they were blowing one of their own players on Saturday. They're in disarray, lads. Honestly, fan base, and we have got to take advantage on Sunday. This is our cup final to determine, not definitely like that, but I think everybody in the chat, if we beat Spurs, well, we've got half one of our feet in the Champions League, in my opinion, because the next 3 games, if we win the next 3 games, we're nearly there. But the way the fixtures are, because after Sunday, if we beat Spurs, we'll be 6 points ahead of them. Brighton will be 10 points behind us because they're playing the semi-finals of the FA Cup. We'll be back into third. And even if Aston Villa win, they'll still be 6 points behind us, and we'll have a game in hand on them. And they play Man United shortly, as well as Spurs play Man United and Liverpool. So, lads, don't, as much as we're disappointed about Saturday's performance, but we should all be, the next, by the end of the month, we could, if we play well and get ourselves in order, we could be well clear of the chasing pack for Champions League football. So we've just got to calm down, learn from it, and learn in the future. And as much as I'm disappointed and deflated for the last 24 hours and 48 hours, the future's still bright, lads. It's in our hands. We've got 8 games to go. So I'll leave it at that, lads. There's nothing much you can really say about the game as far as performance, because there was no man of the match, even though Barry tried to make out Pope, because I thought he was shaky at times as well, to be fair.
Yeah. George, are you back with us? No, he's not.
I am anyway.
Yeah, well, you are, George, but unfortunately, there's a slight lag and there's a slight delay, George, on your internet. So you're picking up the question a little bit later. Then we'll go with it. Just give us your opinion. I think when you start talking, it might be okay. Give us your opinion on the match of the weekend.
Okay. Well, it was nothing short of a disaster from start to finish. Even the people we usually rely on, like Trippier, etc., were poor. Everybody. Pope was poor from front to back. We were never in the game. And Steve Hasty summed it up best, said that we're in a 2-horse race and we came third. And I think that's about right. We just weren't in it at all. And even at half time, when with Brentford, Howe was able to put things right a bit. It didn't get any better. It was just from bad to worse, unfortunately. And so he's got a lot of thinking to do before then. For me, the worst thing about it was Aston Villa, because if there's a team in the Premiership I don't like, that's them. And of course, their fans are making we pay for it now. And even some of the players, I mean, McGinn was on Twitter today shouting his mouth off to Callum Wilson about, he was a fire something. It was just depressing coming from Aston Villa of all people. But we just weren't in it. We lost the pitch. I think Alan was right. We lost it off the pitch as well. How just didn't change the tactics sufficiently or cope with the tactics sufficiently to give them a game, and that was doubly depressing. But awful is the best word to describe it. Where last week described the match against Brentford as professional. Saturday was just plain awful, just dreadful from start, and a lot to do to get on the Spurs, because Spurs are there for the taking, the way they're playing at the moment. But on that form, if we play like that again, we'll let Spurs in, and that would be a disaster. That would be a double disaster. So yeah, pretty awful. The other thing I'd like to say is that I thought Emery's statement before the match about why he didn't come to Newcastle was just a bit over the top. The fact that it would sold were club to an odious regime and a terrible country, etc., etc. Well, for me, that's almost as bad as bringing the game into disrepute for me. But however, we didn't buy the Grecian 2000 King, so we got Howe. So it just so bad. It was bad and doubly sad that it happened to be Aston Villa.
Okay, George, we've got most of that, mate. So we'll keep it. We'll keep going with it, mate. You still got a very slow internet, so I think you need to get on the phone to the provider maybe tomorrow and try and get that sorted out, mate, because it's probably getting as bad as mine. Ian, good evening. and give us your post-mortem.
Well, that's what it was. It's a post-mortem, but I'm going to look on the positive sides. You know, we've lost 4 games in 30 matches, which if anybody had offered us that at this time of the season, sitting in 4th, everybody would have took, unless they're daft anyway. There were no real positives on the pitch. But the only positive was that everybody was rubbish at the same time. You know, like at least they all got it out of the way in the one match, hopefully. So hopefully it is just a blip. I think it is. They for me, Villa played well, but we made them look a lot better than they were. I was looking around the pitch and seeing, seeing players not tracking back, not closing down as they should do. You know, not trying. With I don't want to say it about God, but I was really, really unimpressed. You know, there was times where they were counter-attacking us, and he literally had his thumb up his arse, walking back instead of sprinting back to get in position. There were, players that, would have usually been an 8 out of 10. Unfortunately, all at the same time didn't perform. You've got to put some of that down to Villa, but I think a lot of it was down to some of the players being tired, and for me, some not trying hard enough, But positive side is all our hard matches that I'd class as hard games. People are saying Everton's an hard game. I don't really buy into that. If we get back to the form that we've been in the last six games prior to this, we should win the majority of the games left in the season, because we've got all the hard games, the games against Brighton's at home, Arsenal's at home, Tottenham's at home. The games where you would want them to be at home, they're all at home. And I've looked across the teams like Brighton, Tottenham, I can't bloody remember the other ones now, that were Man United, and I've looked at the running of all the other teams, and I think ours is just about favourable on all of them, because they've all got each other and a mixture of home and away of harder games. So I think we're in a good position. Howe just needs to put it behind him, which I know he will do. That's what he does. Regroup and get the players focused again. I just think it was a really shit day at the office, to put it in layman's terms.
Yeah. Vince?
Hello. Yes, well, to me, it was just, like it says, all these players just had a bad day. Like, this was a day where all the players decide we'll have a crap game, and they did. Like, Trippier was like this. Normally, the lines bombed down the line, the balls were going out. Like, the confusion between the defence and Nick Pope when he came out. Botman clearly had the ball, and he came out and he wiped Botman out. Like, they just for some reason they just weren't at it at all. Yes, Villa did all right, but we played better teams play like that, and we played better against them as well. We were just very, very, very poor. I thought there's I'm not saying everyone. I liked Isaac. He was still trying. And he was tracking well back. He was coming all the way back to left back, covering and pushing on as well. I thought he worked his butt off. Sorry, didn't want to go there. I think it was just like that was just a blip. We know the players, we know how they can play, and they're just a lot of them had just a blatant must have decided, right, these 12-30 games on for us lads. They just had an absolute terrible performance, and like George says, unfortunately it was against Aston Villa. And them comments, I'm totally with George, they're absolutely disgraceful, right? These bitter managers, good God, I mean, get over yourselves. It's just makes me laugh. But to me, that was it. It was just Villa they played all right. I thought they defended very well. They did play all right, but no better than I've seen other teams play better against us. We were just absolutely just players were panicking. They were going, they just didn't know what to do with the ball. So for me, I think it's just a blip. I think it's just one of them where you just write it off. It's a blip. Done yet. We've got big 3-0, shake it off, and we'll take Tottenham on. And I think, it was one of the worst performances I've seen. But I can put it down to, we know what they're like. We know what the player do. We know what Howe does. I'm not even blaming him. I think for some reason the players just weren't at it that day. I don't know why. It was just an absolute. I just can't understand it. Like Alan says, I do agree. Like says Pope did save it. Like says, I mean, could have been a lot more. Like says he did put some good saves in. I thought like says but like says that's it. Very few players like did all right. It was just bewildering. I mean, there was one point where Joe Linton had the ball and there was Murphy and Isaac, and he played the ball in, and neither one of them ran for it. They just stopped, and it was like going, what? Like none of them were in sync. None of them. And then mentioning Murphy there, I thought in the first half he was our only threat.
Yeah,
he did all right. He got at them. He was running at them. He was getting the ball. He did all right. I thought he did all right. So there were little not everybody did. There were people trying. I loved Isaac's graft, but that to me it was just a blip. A lot of players just decided to have an off day. And it was unfortunately, a lot of percentage of our team. But
problem is, with like what you mentioned, Murphy did have an okay game for about 20 minutes, but every time he got the ball, for me, he hangs on to it too long. He needs to release the ball quicker. We're in positions. There was a point where he could have passed it. I think Joe just gave up. He didn't run for it because he hung on the ball so long. The ball eventually went through, and Big Joe he was just stood there, I agree.
But I think in that case, this is why I give Villa did defend well.
But
they held the line, they dove in, they got blocks in. They just played and that's it. Because so many players didn't play well, that was it. So Murphy was having a good game, but other players just weren't reading, making runs, doing things. It was just to me, that is not the Newcastle side that we know now. This is just a blip, and just unfortunately a lot of players just had an off game. Just wipe it off and we'll go again.
Barry, do you think Howe made a mistake playing Gordon at the weekend? I know Longstaff, by the sounds of it, he had not really trained in the week previous because of tonsillitis. Now, I've had this discussion with Newcastle fans today. If you've got tonsillitis, it does drain the life out of you. But for me personally, as long as he wasn't infectious, then yeah, I think he should have been on the bench. And I can understand why Howe didn't risk him. But Anthony Gordon the week before, and I know this had all been cleared up by Howe in the after-match conference and then in the pre-match press conference on Friday. Yeah, it all worked out great. They all shook hands at the end. He was in the photo in the dressing room, but that show of petulance at the side of the pitch, what does that say to other players? If you can get away with that on the side of the pitch in front of the glare of the media, and then Eddie Howe starts you in the next game, Barry. Can you see where I'm coming from? And I'm playing devil's advocate on this one. I might not have managed in the Premier League, but I managed 20 years in the Sunday morning and Sunday afternoon leagues. And I'm telling you now, that does have an effect in the dressing room. If somebody shows that kind of petulance and does something and then starts the following game, then it causes a bit of disruption in the dressing room. And I just wonder whether he made a mistake doing that. There was other players he could have played. He could have started Almiron. He could have. There's any number of things he could have done, but he chose to go with Gordon. And Gordon let him down. And I know everybody else. I think everybody else had a bad game. I'm not going to disagree with any of you. I think there was nobody came out of it at all with any praise. Pope was rubbish. There's no doubt about it. I have a serious question mark over whether Nick Pope is as good as we think he is. We don't know because the back four that's been in front of him has been great. But I wonder whether he made a mistake playing Gordon. And that's just me saying that. That's me hypothetically saying, did he? I'm just wondering what you guys think about that. Barry?
I think you're right because it shows that.
Well, I think.
Yeah, George, you've got a delay on yours, so we'll come to you. We'll come to you in order. So I'll stick with Barry first.
I think
okay.
It's as if Howe said everything's sorted. He's had his little bit spat on the side of the pitch. It's all done with. And obviously we as fans wanted to think, right, that's over and done with. There's not an attitude issue with Gordon. But then, like you guys have said, during the game on the weekend, there was little moments with him again where his attitude was there. And the worry is I don't want to say, is he that type of player that he's going to kick off if things don't go his way? in the good old days, like you say, Steve, the manager would have said, right, you're not playing, you work your ticket. I need to see something from you to get back into the lineup. He had options, but then Miggy's just come back. But for me, he could have played Anderson. Anderson seems to be falling behind again. And the time he actually got on the pitch at the weekend wasn't worth having, which I think is a shame because, again, he could have done something if he'd been brought on a bit earlier. I hate to think that Gordon is going to be one of these. I mean, we thought it when he was an Everton player that we saw his attitude towards us when he was playing against us. I've always thought the same as you guys, that once he signs in black and white, he's going to play his heart out for black and white, and it's other teams he's going to twist on against. Is he going to be one of these? I don't know. I'm hoping not. I think it's Howe's attitude, though, isn't it? It's this mentality that Howe's got. He doesn't always. He plays. He's obviously got a very distinct plan in his mind, and he sticks with it no matter what's going on around him. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know.
Don't get us wrong. I'm not saying Gordon cost us the game. They were all rubbish, and they all deserved what they got, which was a 3-0 hiding, and it could have been more. But what I'm saying is, do you think Eddie Howe made a mistake in potentially playing Gordon in a game where it was straight after that situation? We've seen other acts of petulance in black and white over the years, and players have had to sit it out for a game or two. I don't know. I just wonder, Alan, what's your thoughts on that? What I put forward there?
I agree with Barry. I think Howe came with the fact shows what you can do for the next game after the Brentford match. I've got no qualms, because if you turn the question around, Steve, when do you play Gordon? You've got to allow the lad to have a few games before you can make a judgment. And I agree again with Barry that Anderson is getting left behind, which I worry about going forward, because then you've got so many options. I mean, in the chat, people are saying already about bringing Amron back into the team and the ESM when he's fit. So you've got loads of options, and when does Gordon have a run in the team? So I think we've paid 45 million, and we've yet to see anything off him really of note, apart from a couple of good passes in his first cameo role against West Ham, I think it was, where you put Wilson through. So we've got to give the lad a chance to sell and play. I don't think we'll see the best of him until next year anyway, to be fair, lads. There's only 8 games to go. But I think Howe had the attitude of basically shows what you can do, but unfortunately, him and the rest of the team just didn't play.
People are getting it wrong as well. I'm not singling Gordon out, as Mr. Trigger TV says here. What I'm saying is, did Eddie Howe make a mistake in picking him with the rest of the team? Because he showed petulance the week before. And is it the right kind of message to send out to the players? That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not singling him out and saying he was the player that caused the defeat. So don't get that wrong. What I'm saying is, did Eddie Howe make a mistake in selecting?
Not for me, Steve. I think it was the tactics. I mean, for instance, Emery has looked at us and sussed out our weaknesses to a T. I mean, for instance, like Dan Burn, who got the runaround off John McGinn. He sussed out our tactic. He was the master tactician there at work, and he sussed out our weaknesses. Shaw, Botman, never seen them play as badly as that. The whole lot. So, to me, the tactics of the manager played a huge part in this game, lads, and I think you've got to realise that, as well as the players playing badly. The tactics, if you're getting tactically outdone and you haven't changed in the feel of the game after 20 minutes, within a minute, with Watkins had hit the post. So obviously it's going to upset the team. So getting back to your question, Steve, before I rant on, basically, no, I don't think Howe made a mistake at all. I think you've got to allow a £40 million player a chance to prove himself. He didn't, unfortunately.
Okay. George?
Well, I don't think he made a mistake either. He missed the opportunity, though, to give Elliot Anderson a start, which I think was quite sad. But at the end of the day, after Brentford, I think I said on a couple of platforms when I had we didn't need to make a mountain out of a molehill with that thing in Brentford. Sort it out quickly. And if you look at his picture on the photograph in the dressing room, he's got a smile as wide as a Cheshire cat. There's obviously nothing wrong there. So it looked as though they had sorted it out. He didn't play very well. In fact, he played very poorly. I would have took him off a lot earlier than they did, and had Anderson on much sooner. But Anderson's got to get a start, otherwise, what's the point of keeping him back from this year? I thought that was the whole point, is to slowly feed him into the team. And against Nottingham Forest, he's up for it. He's well capable. So no, I don't think Howe made a mistake. But I've got to say, people are saying, well, in the good old days. Well, I'm really in the good old days. I've got to tell you, if Gordon had done that on any of the teams I'd played for when Newcastle United, he'd have been playing for somebody else. That's how bad it would have been regarded. It'd have been on his bike. He'd have been gone. So it's a slight different time these days. But nonetheless, it wasn't good. But it seemed as though it was settled. But that does not have the fact he was poor on Saturday, like all of the others, I'm afraid. And that's the trouble. It's a collective awful, not just him.
Yeah, okay. Ian?
I don't think how Eddie made a mistake playing him. I think he made a mistake playing him on the left. I understand why he did. He wanted to exploit what's he called?
Ashley Young.
Ashley Young's lack of pace, which, to be honest, I didn't see much of. Ashley Young, I thought had an all right game, but in the past he's been done for pace. I think our left hand side is a major issue. If he was going to play him, he should have played on the right, but I wouldn't have played him instead of Murphy. So it's a bit like, well, yeah, you've got to chuck him in and give him a chance. I'd have played Anderson, to be honest, and the sooner we can get Miggy back, the better for me. The other point is, as much as I love Dan Burn, Big Dan, he's literally every game he's just targeted constantly. And he has played well at left back at times, but as soon as he comes up against pace, 9 times out of 10, he's in trouble. And then it draws up the whole of the back four are compromised. So Botman's getting pulled out of position because he's having to overcompensate for Dan Burns' lack of pace, and it's leaving massive holes in the middle. For me, I've been saying, bring Target in for ages. Not that Target's the quickest, but he is quicker. I don't want to say it because I'll get jumped on, but Dan Burn turns like the bloody Titanic, man. You know what I mean? And you don't need that. You don't need that at left back. You need someone who can. He's not bad once he gets going, but they're gone by then. So for me, he's a decent centre back. Target is a left back, so we should now. I think Eddie should now bring Target in. Not that I'm putting it all on Dan Burn's doors at all, but I think that's.
He's had a tiring season, Ian. You know what I mean? The kid's a big lad, in essence, playing out of position. And in this last 4 games, he's come up against pace, and he has, whether anybody likes it or not, he's been targeted. And again, you know that I do the press conference review, Ian, but listening to Eddie Howe at the weekend, he more or less gave his game plan. He gave his game plan to Unai Emery. Now, the guy's a master tactician. He's a good manager. You know what I mean? He's won things at the highest level. Yeah. And for Eddie Howe to come out and say, well, I like to play Dan Burn in at left back because it gives Trippier the opportunity to bomb on, and it means that Dan Burn can tuck in and make a 3. Well, that's telling you what you're doing. Anyone watching Newcastle's last 29 games before that can see exactly how we've been a success. However, I thought, I've got to be honest, and I didn't see it, but I thought there was a bit of kidology going on there. And I expected I expected Dan Burn to be rested, and I expected Matt Target to start after that press conference, because I thought Eddie's not that. There's always kidology going on in these things, and that's what I expected to happen. The beauty is, and I think you said it before, Ian, they all had an absolute mare at the weekend. Yeah. This is Eddie Howe's easiest team selection at the weekend, because anybody who is dropped has got nothing to argue with. Do you know what I mean? You can all say, well, fair enough, Gaffer, And there was another little twist this week as well, which was, again, in the press conference where Callum Wilson, the Callum Wilson podcast had been brought up. And I do keep checking Eddie's face whenever it gets brought up. Does he wince when this gets mentioned? Because I don't know whether he listens to it. I'd be surprised if he does. But I can't remember who it was. It might have been Simon Bird. I might be completely wrong. But one of the journalists said Callum Wilson on his podcast this week said he was angry that he'd been left out of the Brentford game. And Eddie's come back with the usual reply, well, obviously, I don't expect players to be happy. I want them to be angry and I want them to come back and respond like he did last week, But I thought there's another thing, and it's just these little things, Ian, that can create a little bit of tension, Wilson's not happy, he's the number 9.
It's that 1 or 2% that makes a massive difference at this level, in it. I don't think those things individually would probably, like what you were saying about the fact that Gordon got brought in after being a bit of a knob the week before. I don't think that would just maybe slightly annoy a few people, maybe the senior pros. But it's all these little things all culminating in that one match, I think, and that's got to be looked at as a positive, because I can't see us. We're not going to come out and play like that from the start against Tottenham, and if we do, we're in trouble.
Hasn't Target been having a lot to say this week as well about he made a mistake coming here?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he got booed, the poor lad at Villa, which he didn't deserve to get booed at Villa. To be fair, I mean, the guy wasn't getting a game. They brought in Lewis Digner from Everton, who was nowhere near as good as him, and he was going to be out on a limb. So I feel sorry for him. But if he has come out, I mean, I would imagine he's probably been knocking on Eddie Howe's door as well. He's going to be given a chance at some point. Maybe this weekend.
It sounded like that, Steve, to me.
All right. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I'll have to check up on that. Okay, George. Vince, just your thoughts, on what we've been discussing there.
I've got the question again, Steve. Was that long ago? It's got to
just about Eddie Howe and Anthony Gordon, really. But it's
yeah.
I mean, was he? No, you don't think it was a mistake?
No, it's I mean, you looked at it. It's not just not just the photo at the end of the match. He was applauding the flanks. He was there straight after. So it was over and done with like that. We've let the press. This is it. Letting the media drive something. That's just not an issue. Picked it up, shut up. It was just done straight away. For me, that was probably, he was going to have to play him. He's going to have to start him. So he's looking at that. Max is out for 4 to 6 weeks. He's showing wrong stuff. Don't know what's going on there. But Mickey is only coming back from an injury. So can you start him straight away? He said he had a last update, so he had to leave him out. So you've got 40 million pounds. So he was going to have to give him a shot, give him a start. So that's what he did. He thought, right, okay, this is your chance. He's not going to do him again. He's not going to do it against Tottenham. So he thought, right, okay, all of these, he's got a good chance to say, right, okay, all these players are out. Show me. And unfortunately, he didn't. He had an off day, but at least the rest have constantly played well, stuff like that. For me, it was a blip, but then him to get his chance, and that's what you've got to do. Now, especially with Newcastle United, where we're going, what we're going to do, what players we're going to look at. If you want to be part of this, you've got to step up and you've got to prove that you want to be here. You've got to show it that you want to be part of it. You want to show how good you are in that position. And he did let it down, but I don't think Eddie Howe made a mistake. From listening to what you're talking about the press conferences, yes, I did hear that as well, and I thought, all right, yeah, he's going to pull the magic. And then I went, and then when he didn't, I went, all right, okay, you might have slipped up a bit there, Eddie. But to me, no, it's just, it was just one of them things. It's put up the media, will pump up these things and that, and they're just, to me, not an issue. But it's interesting, because talking about Wilson on the podcast, what's Howe going to do? He likes it, he does it, he enjoys it. Antonio, is Howe going to say stop doing that? So is that going to annoy him? You know what I mean? He's going to say things on podcasts that's going to happen. You know what I mean? Things are going to come across. He's probably going to blurt something out. Don't take much of that. Really, Howe might be, but Howe, if he stops him, is he going to get a bit paid off there? You know, as well. You know what I mean? It's a hard job for the manager, and he's got to work this out. For Dan Burn, people are hammering the lad, right? He's been outstanding for a position he does not play, right? They say he's not fast. He's got a stride. His one stride is about 3 other players. I mean, 3 other players, you know what I mean? He is massive. He does get there. They are working him. I think he's a bit tired.
Yeah.
I think like he's a bit tired. Like, so yeah, give him a rest, put Target on, give him his shot, like his, but not for the fact like says, oh, like the lad has done brilliantly against Man United. Like says, you had Anthony on, dealt with him, then they put Rashford on, and Rashford couldn't deal with him as well. Like says, he's done really well, the lad. Like says, just like says, leave him alone. Like says, he is a really good player. I think he's a cracking centre half. I think he's better than short centre half, me myself, and I would like to see him and Botman there. But that's another thing. But like says, I think he just needs a rest. I think yes, Target is a better left back. And the one thing about I like Target, yes, like says, he is a bit quicker, but it's not just that. His positioning is outstanding. That's what he's good at. Like his, he can get in a position like his where he's ready to go. Like his Target is class at that. But yes, I would like to see him maybe come in against Tottenham. Like his, but I think it's just Dan Burn is just that. I think he's just tired. I think like because yes, he is getting battered the fast legs and that. But no, I think he's done well. He's done really well. You've got to give the lad like he's put in a position that he did, and he's gone right. Okay, not like done like Gordon did. Oh, okay, he had your shot, and Dan just stepped up, and he has stepped up. Like this, so I think you've like it's just I just don't like it. Like talk about that.
Yeah, I feel bad. I feel bad, Vince, like actually saying it because he has been mint in a load of games playing out of position, and he's been 7 out of 10. He's had some 8 out of 10s, and he's. You're right. He has been really, really good, but just at the moment, for me, it's not happening for him, and it's a bit like it's almost like put him out of his misery, give him a couple of games. He probably is absolutely knackered. You know, and give Target a go. And not that Target didn't pull up any trees for me when he came on it himself, you know, but that
I mean,
what he expects he's never played.
But you're looking what he's stepping into. A side that's already 2-0 down.
Yeah, exactly.
Most of the team are playing. I mean, what's he got to do? You know what I mean?
Exactly. No, you're right.
It's good. What do you think? He's got a deep flood miracle.
Yeah.
But no, like his, look, like his, I think, like his Target, like give him a chance. I think he just Burn needs a rest. Like settle down now. He's got like it's been hard on him and that. And I think just give it a little bit of a break. And I think where
Target will be advantage, lads, is that he overlaps with a winger, and he's a more attacking threat, and that's what we're missing down the left. I think that's not that Dan Burn, like you say, Vince, been great all season. Now, not a lad. He gives 150,000%. No, I mean 100%.
And the free kick whipped in as well. You know, you remember the free kick he took? He took it off Tripp's giving him, and it was a couple of inches off off connecting. You know, he gives a different option when it's coming from the left.
Yeah, I think that's where the advantage of Target in a proper left back, and obviously in the summer, I think we will be going out for a top class left back. But I just would
like to sort of made a comment there. I contradicted himself saying a lot of left back. I just meant that's not his main position. He is a centre half. He's playing at left back. Like this, so. Yeah.
Although Eddie Howe sees him as a left back when questioned, I see him as a left back, which you know I just find that strange. I really do. I'm gonna. Tom asked a question earlier. Barry says, "Do we go in for Ollie Watkins in the summer?" Alan's already mentioned, you know, we need a left back. Again, this is another discussion I had with some fellow mags today. I think we're all of the consensus of opinion, me and my mates, we need 5 players in the summer. And that's not after the display at the weekend. In an ideal world, I'd like to see a left back. I'd like to see a central defensive midfielder and a creative midfielder. I'd like to see a forward, and I'd like to bring in another centre half if possible, because I do believe we're going to lose Lascelles, and I think we'll need to bring somebody in who's going to be able to come in and replace potentially Shaw or Botman. So ultimately for me, that's my shopping list. Would Ollie Watkins be on yours, Barry?
No. I don't mean it's horrible, but Watkins is not the level we should be looking at. I'd be looking above him. I think with the finances that we've got, and if we do get the European place, I think there's better players that we could bring in than Watkins. Totally agree. I think although I'm not 100% certain that Tierney from Arsenal is the right choice, I think he would drastically improve the left-back position. I think Maddison, I would be over the moon if he does finally come and sign on the dotted lines. I would love to see us get Diaby. I don't think it's a definite because I think he's going to have so many offers. It's going to be unreal. But I would quite happily take him, and they could have anybody they wanted, including ASM, in return for him. I agree with Steve. We need another centre half. I think Shaw's probably the one I would look to replace and use Burn as a backup. Bring somebody younger in. It keeps getting mentioned to a couple of players who played with Botman in the past. Younger players as others, Dutch centre half that will keep getting mentioned with. I would be looking at that. And I still think we need an out-and-out striker. I don't want to go next season into the battling for the Premier League, wanting them to go for the Cups and potentially European competition with Callum Wilson. Not that I'm saying he hasn't got the ability. It's just, for a fact he's going to get injured at one stage and it could be quite a while he's out for. So I think we need somebody else in the side and then have Wilson maybe as a reserve. So we need a decent striker. And I was blown away when Mr. Hasty mentioned my favourite player the other night when he was on, saying Vlahovic at Juventus. I totally agree. I think he would be my signing. I think him alongside Isaac would be absolutely unreal.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we've got to remember as well. We've got Harrison Ashby as well, who's been brought in from West Ham and potentially could save us a bit of money at left back. He played today in the 4-3 win against Norwich as well. But Alan,
he scored and got an assist, didn't he?
He did, mate. Yeah, so that's potentially, that is potentially a player that might save us a few quid. Ollie Watkins, Alan.
I agree with Barry. No. I think we should be. I mean, he's going to a tremendous goal scoring patch, and he looks. But ask you the question, Steve: how much would Villa want? 60, 70 million?
Yeah,
easy. The way he's going, that they would want something like that. I'll go for Victor Osimhen from Napoli.
You've been consistent on that, man.
Yeah, down in centre forward, playing in the quarterfinals against AC Milan to try and get them in the semi-finals. That's the sort of level we should be aiming at. I totally agree with you, Steve. Centre midfield, Maddison, like Barry says, would be great if we could get him. A left back definitely, and a centre half. Four key players to boost the squad. Because don't forget, our squad is pretty old, lads. Shaw, Trippier, Burn, they're all touching 30, and there's quite a few, so we've got to reduce that age and get younger blood into the team as quick as possible, the challenge. And like Barry says, if we're going for European, no matter what it is, Champions League or Europa or wherever, we need that backup. And I'll go along with Barry totally. We definitely, because don't forget that the Man United teams in the 90s and the noughties had 4 top strikers. It's keeping them happy. That's the problem. Like we're feeling with Wilson. We're talking about Wilson being unhappy and, not getting on. Well, that's the art of management. And like Gordon and people like that not getting a game, and Target now apparently complaining about not getting a game. That's the difficulty when you get a squad of 25 players who all believe they should be in the team. Going forward, that's going to be the difficulty for Howe. And this will show these credentials. Because don't forget, lads, that next 8 games, this is new territory for him, pushing for top 4.
Yeah, it is. My mistake. Yeah, Ashby is a right back. I said left back. Sorry, but it'll save us. It will save us some money. And let's face it. Anything that comes in the reserve and in the youth that can be elevated to the first team is going to be a positive for Newcastle. And as soon as they get the academy, of course, we'll hopefully have some homegrowns. Ollie Watkins was the name, George, that Tom put forward. I mean, he's playing well at the moment. I think it's something like 15 goals, isn't it, this season for Ollie Watkins? He's quick. Ekitike is another one that's been linked, George. Of course, the guy who turned us down and went to PSG not to get a game. I mean, any of those names, you fancy, George, or not? George is like a Doctor Who character now. I think he's disappeared. He's disappeared. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say.
No, not. I wouldn't go for Watkins. He'll cost too much. Simple as that. Like you said, 60, 70 million. You can get much, for me anyway, much better players. Although saying that, he did play really well against us, and he has been playing really well. But he's not that much. He's not worth that much money for me, and we would end up having to pay that after the last sort of dozen games he's had. I think Osimhen is a definite. If we could get him, that would be a game changer. I've seen him play
big statement
since he's been linked, and he just looks absolute class. Vlahovic, I'll probably get a few people getting peed off with me in the chat now, but I would still go back in for Ekitike if we can get him because he's meant to be on a 20 mil or something like that now because of his not that great performances when he's.
We're being heavily linked in with that Pedro from Watford again.
Yeah, Pedro he looks quality as well. You know, I wouldn't look over him if we can get him for a decent price, but I don't know what price they'd be asking because they were asking quite a lot of money for somebody who's unproven, weren't they? So there's all those choices, but for me, the key places are left back, defensive midfielder are the two most important places, and then obviously like a Maddison sort of attacking midfielder. And another striker, but yeah, left back and defensive midfield. If we could get Rice or that Ugarte, either of them two, I'd go all in for them, and a left back as the priority, definitely.
Rice is going to cost you 80 million, though.
Yeah, I know, but if we get him, I would say, if we get Champions League, I would say that he's worth that easily for us.
Talk of him going to Arsenal, isn't there? A lot of talk of him going to Arsenal.
There is. And he might do, but you know, obviously there was talk of Bruno going to Arsenal, and he didn't.
Good point. Ekitike, you're shaking your head every time he gets mentioned, Vince. I mean, the stuff coming out at the moment is he was badly advised, etc. He is a young lad. You know, you're not buying any of that, clearly.
Lex says no. I don't think we should go back. Lex says we tried that. Chose somewhere else. No, I don't think we should go back with that. For me, Lexus, yes, we need Lexus. If we're going to step forward, it's that striker we need. We need a striker that can bang in 20 or 30 goals a season. Lexus isn't going to be constant. Lexus, unfortunately, Lexus with Wilson, he's a cracking finisher, but he just doesn't. Lexus, it's constantly injured. Like his agent, we need quality. I mean, they were talking about that Vahailovic. Possibly looking at him because he's doing really well. Like he's bringing him in. People are talking about Diaby, but I've heard a lot of people who watch the football out there saying that he's not that good. There's a lot of people watching saying that he's not that good and all that. Like
I've got somebody who watches that. I've got somebody who watches him week in, week out whenever he plays, and they're not a fan. So yeah, I've heard mixed reports on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's it. Like I mean, look, like says we didn't know anything about Bruno when he come, like Botman, like these players, we didn't know much about them, and this is it. We're talking about these players and that they'll be looking and like and what they are. We're looking, like it says, we're not going. We're looking at standards. We're looking at Bruno. We're looking at Isaac now. That is the standard. That is the level we're looking. And Botman and that. We want to bring this team up. If we want to go places, we want to win the league. Like his sentimentality, like his goes out the window. You've got to push for it. I mean, like his who's to say that like his Liverpool aren't doing well? Would you think they'd go in for Salah? Because he would be like in the Middle East. He'd be a great sales for there. Do you think they might put a cheeky bid in for him? Something like that? Because in the Middle East, he's massive. Like he's massive over there. Absolutely love him. And they'll be playing that angle as well.
What about Harry Kane, Vince, lads? Harry Kane in the summer.
Lexus, if he's going to break the record, I want him to do it in a black and white top. Yeah, it's him. But yeah, Lexus, do you know what, Lexus? We need that out and out striker. Is Kane that? Because he drops back loads and all that. We need a striker that's going to be that. We've already got Isak, and Isak is not like a player that plays. He doesn't do Wilson. He doesn't play at the back. He likes to pick up the ball and run with it. So we've already got a player who does that. Do we want Kane as well to do that? If we could get Kane to Kane like that. I mean, look at his record and that. You can't take that away from the lad. He finishes. He does. He does score goals. He can score them. He scores long range. He scores with his head. He does score all sorts of goals well. So I think probably the right price. Yes, possibly go for it. But it is like says up front we need the goals, like says. But I'm with you as well. Left back, centre back. We are gonna. This is it. Like says talking about sentimentality. You've got to think of the players that we've got there. We're gonna have to create gaps. Well, like Steve said, I think Lascelles will go. Like says apparently there was rumours on Shaw. Like says because of the amount of head injuries he's had, things that he might. His contract, I think, is ended up at the end of the season, and he might be going like in the background staff coaching because he's passed all his medals and all that. So there's possibly of him going as well. So definitely centre half there. Like says, I think like says we've got a few. Like says definitely defensive midfielder. Rice 80 million. Not too sure of that. Like says I think like says. I mean, we can guess all day on this as we want. Like it says, they brought in Bruno. We didn't know any of these, and look what they've turned out. So we've just got to have faith, and they know what they're doing. And like says, we are ahead of schedule, massively ahead of schedule. Like says, where we are and where we're going. But like says, we've got to look. The new sponsors will kick in. Fun 88's going to go bye-bye because they're not allowed to have them sponsors. But they're going to go bye-bye. New shirt sponsors. Like this, that's going to kick in as well, and we're going to be able to. That's where we're going to generate, and that's where we're going to like go. Like this, be able to fight the FFP. That's there, and that and go do better. That's the level we're going to go at, and like I've got every faith in them. That's where we're going.
Chelsea might be offloading a few players in the summer as well. Like
that's
they're all
very
on
true.
they're all on 8-year contracts. Like, but there might be one or two players we can pick up there.
I know.
George,
I'm surprised Pardew isn't going there, getting another 8-year contract as manager.
George wishes everybody well. He's going to dip out now. He's going to reboot his internet and try again later in the week. So fingers crossed he gets sorted. We don't often get a chance to look ahead to the game the following week because we've usually got a few more on the panel and don't get round. So obviously Newcastle are taking on Tottenham next weekend, and this is a proverbial 6-pointer, but at the right end of the table as opposed to the wrong end of the table. So it's a 2:00 kickoff. It's live on Sky Sports. It's a sellout. Surprise, surprise. And referee and VAR to be confirmed. So, Barry, let's get your prediction hat on for this one, mate. How do you see this going?
I was completely wrong with the Villa one.
We all were, mate.
Barry, I said 10-0. I think that was too much pressure for them.
I think the Tottenham game will be close, but I think they're very inconsistent, especially away from home. I think we'll turn them over 2-1.
You think we'll turn them over 2-1? Okay, Alan. Alan's got that pensive look on his face. Now, I don't like it when you look like that, Alan.
I was going to say what Barry had said, but if we play well, I think 3-1, because I've been on their podcast, lads, and they're on the floor. The fans, the management, everybody's on the floor, and none of them think they're going to do anything up here as far as like winning. So we've got they're dangerous because they beat Man City away exactly the same boat a couple of years ago. So we haven't got to be overconfident, but we've got to put that nail in the coffin, because I definitely think if we beat them on Sunday, we've got 1 foot in the top 4, lads. With the way the table will look on Sunday night if we beat Spurs. So I'm going for 3-1. If we play well, because their defences, they're in 45, 47 goals. It is not good, lads. It is not good. So they'll be thinking the same. It's their cup final, but they've got Man United and they've got Liverpool after us. Now, if we beat them, their confidence will be absolutely shot. So 3-1, Steve, I'm going for it. And we mustn't fear getting beat. A draw will not be a disaster, lads. But if we win, we're halfway there.
Yeah, in the words of Bon Jovi, we're halfway there. Ian?
Well, I was going to go 3-1, so I'll just do an Alan and I'll go 4-1. So I think we're going to smash them, actually. I've got... I thought that last week again, like everybody else, but I think there will be a massive reaction from this, from last week. I think we will beat them. I watched their game and they are pretty poor. You know, I know we played badly, but we're not a bad team. But they look so disjointed. Despite the players, they will score, I guess, because Harry Kane will score, or Son will score, or someone will score. But I'm actually still confident of the win. So 4-1, just because Alan said 3-1.
Okay, Vince.
10-1.
I think for the Tottenham game, Alexis, to actually lose against Villa might be actually a good thing. Because yes, we've done well. We've won 5 games in a row. We've done 3 in a week. But I think what it does is show them you need to concentrate, you need to focus. We're not going to win everything. You have to be on your game to do it. And I think that's what this game has done for it. So I think they'll click back in, realise, yep, none of we're at the races. We need to prove it again. We need to step it up again. And I think you're talking 10-0. No, I'm kidding. No, I think I'll go I'm tempted. Do you know what? Yeah. 5-0. We'll go Man U. Man U to 5-0.
I wish I was as confident. I'm going to leave my prediction for later in the week, but at the moment, I'm going to let the dust of the weekend settle before I make my prediction. I'll give it a shout out on the Amigos.
No, Steve, you're pensive now.
Definitely pensive, mate.
Definitely
pensive. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Let's see whether the plane spotters were right yesterday, and that was ASM flying back in. And let's hope Sean Longstaff's tonsillitis, if that's what it was, is cleared up. But great panel. As always, Ian, Barry, Alan, Vince, and George, thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks to everybody in the chat, all the moderators, and thanks to everybody for commenting, as always. I'm back 10 o'clock in the morning with Ross Gregory. Wednesday night will be those were the days pre-record. I'm not going to be doing live on Wednesday. Thursday night, as usual, me, John Gibson, and Supermat. And Friday live is the 3 Amigos. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and take care. See you at 10 o'clock in the morning. Take care, guys.
Good night.
A big thanks to all our sponsors: Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks also to Mr. Vicky's, handmade in Cumbria. These sauces are really hot stuff. You can order them by emailing info@mrvickies.co.uk or by telephoning 01768 210 102. Thanks to Neil and the guys at Media Arts for all the help with the video side of things. And thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, nufcmatters.com. If you want to subscribe to the show, hit the subscribe button tonight. It is free. Hit the thumb up under the video to like the video, and click share to share to your other social media. If you want to join the channel, hit join. There's 3 different tiers. Pick the one that suits you and help support the channel financially. If you want to pay a one-off membership fee of £25 and get these goodies, a scarf, a pen, a cup, and entry into the monthly draw, then go to NUFC Matters and look for membership pack. Failing that, get your smartphone and put it over the QR code, and it will take you straight there. We're also a podcast, and you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and other podcast providers. Usually goes up 24 hours after the show has finished. We also support the food bank on this channel. If you want to make a virtual donation today at the Matchday Bucket, go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk and you can make a deposit today. Don't forget to enter the Shearer raffle. There's 150 tickets, £1 per ticket, and you can win a limited edition signed Alan Shearer ball. Enter now at nufcmatters.com. If you have a look on our website, we've also got a vast range of mugs, t-shirts, cups, and whatever else takes your fancy. The Isaac t-shirt is proven popular this month, $16.99 plus delivery from nufcmatters.com. Don't forget as well, we do a range of events over the course of the year. We have Peter Beardsley, an up-close and personal evening at the Tynemouth Surf Cafe. Limited tickets remain, 25th of April. Get them now from Surf Cafe, tynemouth.co.uk or from ticketweb.uk. There's also an evening with Peter Beardsley on May the 19th at the Tyneside Irish Centre, and you can get tickets from newcastlelegends.com, and tickets are £50. Don't forget our end of season do takes place 27th of May, 7 o'clock at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets for that one are a tenner. NUFCmatters.com is where you can get your tickets for that. In June, Thursday the 1st of June to be precise, Rob Lee will be at Louis Liquor Store in the Big Market in Newcastle, and tickets for that are available direct from the venue. And an evening with Rob Lee, Lee Clark and John Beresford takes place the next evening on Friday the 2nd of June at the Grand Hotel in Gosforth. This is a charity event and tables are of £10, £700, and you can book them by contacting Natalie at heelandtour.org.uk or visiting their website. In July, Gavin Peacock is in Newcastle on July the 10th at the Tyneside Irish Centre. Tickets for that are available from nufcmatters.com. And he also takes an evening with at the Surf Cafe in Tynemouth on the 11th of July. So get your tickets direct from the venue for that one as well. And if you're a boxing fan, the Night of Champions, Ricky Hatton, Frank Bruno, Nigel Benn and Joe Calzaghe takes place at the Fed. And that will be taking place on the 16th of June. More dates to be added. Tickets from all those events, www.goldstarpromotions.co.uk.